great dream that you are. The spark ignited, and you sparkle like the sunlight on the lake. You are as the fire is to flame. You are. You will remember the truth of what you are. You are a vision, a picture perfect frequency of love. You are made of stardust from above. You are, and you will bloom as wide as you allow. Your dreams will only reach as far as your doubt. It's only fear that keeps you out of the now. You will surrender to loving what you are. For what is brighter or lighter than the surface of your soul? You are spirit coming forth. You are, and you will bloom as wide as you allow. Your dreams will only reach as far as your doubt. Don't let your fear keep you out of your now. You will remember the great dream that you are. The spark ignited, and you sparkle like the sunlight on the lake. You are as the fire is to flame. You are.
And now it's time for me to pray. So knowing right here and right now that there is an infinite substance, and this substance is the thing that I call God. Some people call it the universe, the force. They call it Buddha, Allah. Whatever you know in your heart as the creative energy that is the genesis of all things, know and claim that it is here right now in and through each and every one of us. I know and claim that as I stand here, that I'm lifted and gifted and shifted into a new awareness of what life is. I declare that there is an awareness through each and every one of us that is sparking that imagination, sparking that creativity, attracting, being the attractor factor in our lives to open us up to a greater wellness, a greater sense of well-being, a greater sense of aliveness, a greater sense of inspiration and transformation so that each of us can live the lives of our dreams. And so as I claim that for each and every one of us, I know and claim that I am illuminated with this light, just as each and every person is here right now. I declare that something magical is happening. It's different than it's ever happened before, and so I declare declare that it is a welcoming and opening for all goodness, all love, all light to come into our lives to a greater and greater degree. And as I see and claim that for each and every one of us here, I see and declare that this day is brand new, that there is something new that is inspired and awakened within each and every one of us. And for that, I am truly grateful. And so I send this word out into that infinite presence, that infinite power, that infinite substance that I call the Creator. And I welcome all that is being created in my life on my behalf, because I know it is not me that's doing the work. It is the Infinite One doing the work. It is Spirit. It is the Almighty. And so I surrender into that, releasing any attachment, knowing it's better than I could ever imagine, and letting it go and letting it be. And so it is. So it is. And so now it's time for my talk. For those of you who came in late, I'm doing service backwards today because we're talking about creativity. And one thing I know about creativity is that if I get stuck in the same old pattern, that I lose that sense of newness in my life. And I might be in a rut where I don't feel that beautiful creative power and passion that is ever available to each and every one of us. So I thought I would mix things up, because I actually, when I was, I think it was 21, 22, I knew I wanted to be a minister. And I always thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to like do something like this? And of course, I suggested it one time to my senior minister, who was like, no, we're not going to do that. So now, like 17 years later, I'm like, yes. I get to mix things up a little bit. How many of you have had a rut in your life? A rut? A rut? A rut? A rut? It might be a groove, but it might be a rut. And so I've been through many ruts in my life, and I'm always seeking the thing that will help me get out of the rut. And sometimes I need more than just my own, idea of like, I just want to get out of the rut. Sometimes I need something to spark, to awaken within me that shifts me into a new way of being. So as we're talking about creativity this month, is there music playing? Oh. Wow. Is it through the speakers or is it in there? It's in... It's gone. Oh, wow. The Bluetooth. So maybe it's my Bluetooth. It's a chorus. It was quite inspirational. So we're going to talk today about creative confidence. And there's a book of the month called Creative Confidence, which I don't have, but that means I get to be more creative about it. So I actually, the book didn't arrive in time, but I did listen to a bunch of YouTube videos by the author. And the author talks about creativity. And one thing that we forget or we think about creativity is that a lot of us think we don't have it. And David Kelly, who is the author of the book, he talks about how when he was in 3rd grade, he was sitting next to his best friend, Brian. And his best friend, Brian, had gotten this clay. There's like there was clay under the sink that you could kind of use any time that you wanted to, and the teacher had just available for people to kind of play with. And so he noticed his friend was putting together this little horse out of the clay. And the girl who was sitting next to them pointed it out and said, "Oh, what is that?" And he said, "Well, it's a horse." And she said, "Oh, that's such an ugly horse. It doesn't even look like a horse." And Brian took the clay and he wadded it up and he put it away. And David noticed that Brian didn't play with the clay again. Now, I don't know about you, but oftentimes when we're kids, we take what people say as the truth of who we are. And then we embody that for the rest of our lives. So I imagine that there may be people in this room who have a similar story where a teacher might have said, "Oh," or a friend who said, oh, you don't know how to do that, or you're not creative, or that doesn't look good, so, you really aren't that kind of person. But the truth of the matter is that we are creative beings. That's who we are. It has nothing to do with artwork or anything. It has to do with who we are. Every thought that we think is a creative action in our lives. So as we are thinking our thoughts, we are creating. We are the great creator within our own lives. And oftentimes, if somebody has had that kind of experience where they had a teacher tell them that they weren't creative, then they embody that idea and then represent it for the rest of their lives until they make a different choice. So my experience, I've shared this before, is I was, like 9 or something, maybe 8, maybe younger. And I was singing in a church choir, and we were doing a little duet. And we were singing this song called I'm a Mirror. And I was with another boy. And I felt like I was off key when I was singing the song. Now, I was 8 or 9, by the way. So I asked the choir director, after service, I said, oh, well, how did I do? And he said, oh, you did a really good job. And I said, no. I can take it. You can tell me the truth. And he said, well, you were off key. And I took that as evidence in my life that I can't sing. So I've been working on singing for the last year and a half. And it's interesting to me because I love being creative. I am a creative being. And yet that aspect of myself, I've shut off. Have you ever made fun of yourself? Like, especially for singing, for me, it's like, oh, somebody's singing. Oh, you don't want to hear me sing. Oh, it's a good thing that you're singing and not me because, everybody'd run from the room. Does anybody have something in their life where they've done that? Maybe not singing, but some other aspect.
Self-depreciating humor.
Cooking, yeah. Yeah, self-depreciating humor, yeah. Right. Yeah.
She says I can stop.
You can stop now. I give you all permission to stop now.
She gives me permission to become a better person.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is whatever that thing is, that might be your greatest gift to give to the world. Whatever that aspect that you think you don't know how to do, or you can't do it right, or you haven't been able to be a superstar in that area, maybe you weren't naturally gifted with it, it might actually be your greatest gift to give in the world. I think it was Julia Childs. She didn't even start cooking until her 40s, her late 40s. Didn't start cooking, right? You are the age that you're at. How many more things in your life are available for you to discover? Do you remember Titanic and the older lady in Titanic, the actress? That was her first acting gig. It was her first acting gig. I think she got an Academy Award for it too. Her first acting gig. So what are you holding off from doing just because you've never done it right, you don't know how to do it, or you haven't been professionally trained? Right now I am getting training in singing. And it's really hard. Every single singing lesson I have, I cry through. Because I have this little kid inside of me that is bigger, the voice is bigger than my big kid, telling me what a terrible job I'm doing. And I'm working through it because I know that that's my greatest challenge. My greatest challenge is my greatest opportunity. How can I stand up here and tell you to live the dreams that you love and to step into those courageous areas, those uncomfortable spots in your life, unless I'm doing it myself? So I want to invite you to think about an area in your life that maybe you're not comfortable in, but you'd love to be. I'd like you to think about some area that you'd dream of having manifest and express at a higher and greater level. Now, maybe you have a fear that you want to overcome. One of the authors talked about this gentleman, Dr. Bandura, he actually works at Stanford. He's 86 years old. And he has this amazing ability to have people who have phobias, have them disappear in like 4 hours. And so what he does, for instance, he'll, like, let's say you're afraid of snakes, for instance, right? You're afraid of snakes. So if you're afraid of snakes, Dr. Bandura would have a snake in the other room. And he would say, "Hey, Terry, would you like to go to the other room and check out this snake?" And of course, Terry would say, "No." "Why, no, I don't want to." And what he would do is he'd incrementally introduce him to the snake. The first step would be he'd have there's the two-way mirrors where you know that you can see in, but that other thing can't see you. He would have them go to the room with a two-way mirror, stand behind that glass window mirror thing, and the person could see the snake. It's in the other room, but they're not there. And then the next step he would do is he'd bring them to the door of the room, and he'd have them have the door open. And then the next step he would do, and he'd kind of get them closer and closer, and then he'd allow them to touch it, not with their hands, but he'd have like a welder's glove on, like a really thick, big welder's glove, to be able to touch the snake. And what he found is when people came up against their fears head on, that so many other areas of their lives transformed. When they were willing to step into that place that was really uncomfortable and allow that thing not to actually take over their lives and help them recognize it's their head that's causing that within their body, not the thing itself, then they've been able to drastically transform their lives. So I'm going up against my fear, right? I'm taking singing lessons. Every time I take singing lessons, it causes me to cry. I get this voice in my head, and I'm utilizing the tools that I get here in order to transform that experience. So you've probably heard me, for those of you who know my story and know that this is kind of the transformation that I'm walking through, you've actually probably heard me sing a couple of times. I'm singing out loud in public in front of people, and it's completely uncomfortable. It's terrifying for me. Absolutely. And people are like, "Oh, you're up in front of people all the time." And I am. And I could be in front of one person singing terrified, while I can be in front of 100 people speaking and not terrified at all. It's a completely different experience for me. But it's because I took on that idea, that belief system, that I wasn't enough in this area and that my creative gift is not good enough to share with the world. So I want you to invite you to think about the fact that being creative is not about being talented. It's about the nature of our being. Everything we do is creative. And if we don't think highly of our creativity, then we experience what we think about as our life. So if I'm not thinking highly about my creativity, as I'm stepping into this creative aspect, I'm expressing that not enoughness, and then I'm experiencing the not enoughness, and I'm a self-fulfilling prophecy. I find evidence of what I want to see everywhere around me. I've been looking at the idea, Gina and I are looking at the opportunity of either getting a trailer or an RV, and so we've been playing around for the last month on getting like an R-Pod, and so I've been researching R-Pods. My neighbor has one. I checked it out. I was looking in the R-Pod, and then both of us realized we have cars. We don't have a vehicle that can carry an R-Pod. So that means we'd have to get some type of SUV, and so we're kind of like, well, what kind of SUV would we like? And both of us are kind of quirky and fun. And so we thought like a Jeep would be cute, like, an orange one or a blue one or a red one. So I cannot tell you how many Jeeps I have seen in the last week. Like ridiculous. They're everywhere. Have I seen them before? Nope. It's amazing to me, but I'm just tuning my mind. I want you to take on an experiment this week and pick one thing out in the morning that you'd like to see that day. And I'd like you to look for it. Just a random thing. It might be a feather. It might be, a Jeep. It might be, a bluebird. It could be specific flower. And notice how many times you see that thing. Whenever my dad died, I saw a person who was a, what do you call it? They talk with those who have passed on. A medium. I saw a medium after my dad died. And the thing that was so terrible to me is I didn't feel him around. And I'm a spiritual person. Like I know that my body is just my body. And so I continue to step into that idea that how can he communicate with me? And so the medium told me, well, horses. And I was like, horses? And she said, yeah, every time you see a horse, it's your dad saying, I love you. Now, I can tell you that I pretty much have every day since that point for the last, 7 years, seen a horse. Now, it might be a horse on a billboard ad on a bus that's driving by. Or I might be looking through a book or a magazine and see a horse. But because I'm tuned in, I notice that it's everywhere. So what are you tuning into for your life? What kind of aspects that you want to tune to attract into your life, to see in your life? If you want to get out of a rut, start tuning into not what's in the rut, but what's out of the rut. Start thinking about how you can separate what's in the rut and what's out of the rut, and think about what's out of the rut. One thing I want to remind you is that our imagination is the most creative thing that we have. It's like a canvas. And whenever you have your imagination, you can create whatever you want. You see, the way that the world works, or life works, or spirit works, or God, or the universe, is that everything that's here right now is an effect. Everything here now. This moment is an effect. So how do things come into our lives? How do things get drawn into our lives? We create them in this moment in our heads. We speak about them. We dream about them. We vision about them. We pray about them. And when we do those things, the universe actually conspires in order to bring those things into our awareness. But unless we're tuned in to being aware to them, we could be ignoring it the entire time. We could be pushing away that very thing that is our good, that very thing that we've been dreaming about and visioning about and creating into our lives. So I want to invite you to think about what it is that you can create. Many of us just take our lives and we're living by default, right? If you're not deciding and directing your own life, then you are living by default. That means what everybody else is thinking is creating your life for you. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've seen the news, that's kind of the default. And your opportunity to create the life of your dreams is when you take a declaration and you create what you're dreaming beforehand. So I'm dreaming of a space, of an opportunity for this place to be a thriving, amazing, diverse spiritual center. Now, I've been dreaming about that for a long time, but each one of you have been the ones who've been creating that energetic from happening, continuing happening. And in my mind, I just keep seeing it. I keep witnessing it. I keep seeing that we have 2 people of our community who went to the march, the climate march. I keep seeing that we have people in our community that come to Sister Spirit and declare new things, that they start a CD or they write a book or they talk about their addictions and how they've overcome them and how they can be a better person in their lives because of their past. So each and every one of us has an opportunity to be this thriving light, this brilliant light. And maybe we've been holding back. I want to invite you to stop holding back, to try something new, to do something a little bit different, to mix things up a little. I had this great article that I read from fastcompany.com by Kai-Han Krippendorf. K-A-I-H-A-N. Krippendorf, you can spell that a little bit later. It's very long. But he talks about how life conspiring for our greatest good happens through innovation. And we have to be innovative in our lives. So he opened to us 5 different ways to be innovative. The first way is to set unreasonable expectations. Unreasonable expectations. You know why? Reasonable expectations means we're playing safe. Unreasonable expectations invite us to step beyond that comfort zone and to go places we've never gone before. The second thing is stop defining yourself by your industry. A lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of organizations define themselves by their industry. For instance, Amazon is not in the retailing business. They have no idea what they're becoming, but it's not a retail company. Choose a cause in your life. That's the third thing. Choose a cause. Instead of doing what you're doing to do what you're doing, do what you're doing because you have a cause behind it. Find out what that cause is in your personal life, in your business life, your professional life. We have a cause right here. It's a mission statement. What we want to do in this place is we want to transform the planet through spiritual practice, education, service, empowerment, and by living inspired lives. Why are we doing what we're doing? Because we want to each live inspired lives and we want to transform the whole planet because of it. The fourth thing is utilize your talent. Instead of preventing your own talents from working, utilize your talents and what you have. Bring your full self into what you've become and what you're doing. For instance, when I was working at Stanford, I was in a position that most of my position was data analysis. And by the way, I'm a very creative, right brain person, but I was doing a lot of data analysis. And the thing that I know that I'm good at is bringing people together and team building. And so I presented to my boss the idea that maybe I would do a quarterly team building event for our team, and I'd produce a workshop and we'd have fun together doing this, and it would benefit the whole team. And I was really scared to bring that to my boss because I thought, well, this isn't in my job description, and isn't it kind of my boss's job to do this stuff? But what I did is I courageously stepped forward into an area that was new for me, that was different. You know what my boss did? Exactly. She was like, what? I love this. I hate doing team building. Oh my God. Thank you so much. I can't wait to have this team building workshop with you. Right? And so that was me utilizing my talents in a new way. I also did little drawings and stuff in my, presentations because I love to draw. And the fifth thing is to allow yourself first to go into low risk things. Still risky, but low risk. I'm going to talk about a member of our community, Diesel Smith. She's not here today, but she had a fear of crowds because she was, in war, a veteran, and a lot of challenging things happen in war. But it gave her a fear of crowds. And she incrementally took little risks to be in a community like this where there's some people. And then the next thing she did is we went as a community to the Women's March. And we were all together in the Women's March in San Jose. There's a big crowd there. And then last weekend, she went to Washington, D.C. to be in a big crowd. And if you look at her Facebook page, she has mission accomplished, talking about how her fear of crowds is gone. But sometimes you got to start with some low risk situations. But still, there's got to be a little risk. So where are you not taking those little risks just to kind of push yourself out into that new zone of being? So I invite you to think about all of these things this week, because I know that each and every person in this room is a gift to the world. I know that your talents are there are people seeking out what you have to give. There are people wishing that you would be shining your light to the fullest, because they want to see it. They want to feel who you are. They want to witness the beauty that you have to give to the world. Because it's just as beautiful to behold your gifts as it is for you to give your gifts. So I want to invite you to think about what ways can you be shifted and gifted in the world today. Are you in?
Amen.
Are you willing to do that?
Yes.
Are you going to think about something new to do this week?
Yes.
All right. And so it is.